Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing an old school tag video, and this is one that I did back in 2020. So it's been 5 years now, and I thought it'd be fun to just go back and revisit what I thought then versus now. So this is the Drugstore Makeup Tag, and I remember when I first did this, it kind of went viral, not as far as views. I don't think it actually got that many views. I was a much smaller channel back then. Just in terms of how many creators actually took on this tag and did it, I was so overwhelmed by the response to it and just had so much fun watching everyone else's videos and seeing what their responses were. So I thought it would just be so much fun to bring this back and see how things have changed. So let's jump right into it. The first question, man, I started out with such a doozy and I was like kicking myself for even creating this question because it's so hard. And the question is, if you could only use one drugstore or affordable brand for the rest of your life, what would it be? So at the time in my old video, I said Makeup Revolution, which when I look back at that now, I kind of shake my head like, why did I say that? But my excuse in the video was that Makeup Revolution had so many different lines and so many different products that I felt like I would never get bored. They were always coming out with new things. And I felt like if I had stuck with a brand like L'Oreal or something, they don't come out with new things that often. I might just feel stuck or bored after a while. I remember wanting to say ColourPop, but at the time they were a much smaller brand with mostly just palettes and blushes and lip products. They didn't have the bigger range that they do today. And even e.l.f., I felt like this was before their dupe era, where now I feel like they're just so much more exciting. But if I had to pick now, I would probably go with e.l.f. And it was kind of between that and ColourPop. I know ColourPop has just a lot of really amazing stuff, but I do feel like there are a couple of key things that ColourPop doesn't have, like brow products. I think they might have brow products, but nothing that I really like. Same thing with mascaras. They do have them, but I'm not a fan of their mascaras, and I cannot live without mascara. So e.l.f. has the lash extender tubing mascara that I really like. They have the soft glam foundation that I really love. I don't feel like their eyeshadows are super strong, but I could totally make them work. They have a lot of just like blushes, bronzers. They have cream products, powder products. They've really grown in the last 5 years, so I think I would have to go with e.l.f. on this one. And it's funny because looking back, the whole reason that I had chosen Makeup Revolution in the first place is because they were such a huge brand, and now they're like a shadow of their former self. When I was in Ulta recently, I couldn't believe how small and shrunken their display is. It used to be like the whole thing, and now it's just one little spot with just a few products. So it's kind of crazy how far they've fallen. Let's look at the next question. This one is, what is the most underrated drugstore or affordable brand? So in my last video, 5 years ago, I had said it was Kokie Cosmetics. Now, Kokie did have a moment there for a while. Everybody was talking about them. It must have been back then, I guess, and they were fresh in my mind. Now I almost forget that they're even around. Mainly because you don't see them in stores. They're only in Rite Aid, and I do have a Rite Aid near me, but they're actually closing soon because the company is going bankrupt, I think. So I don't know what that means for Kokie. They do have a website, but I haven't used a Kokie product in a really, really long time. So they're one of the brands that I kind of forgot about. Now, if I had to say the most underrated drugstore or affordable brand, I would go with Moira on this one. Moira is, as you all know, anybody who watches me with any regularity, you know that I love Moira. I've talked about them for years, but I don't see a lot of other creators talking about them. Very, very few. I know Tati's mentioned them before, Ali Glines, but they don't have the same popularity as the other brands do. And I think that's largely because they're not in stores. A lot of people always talk about things that you can find at Sephora or Ulta. And when a brand is kind of online only, I think it just limits the amount that people talk about them. I'm not sure why. And I know that Moira is more popular over on like TikTok and in short form than they are here on YouTube, but I would love to see them get more popular. They just have so many amazing products and so many great dupes. The quality is so good and the prices are great. So I would say they are absolutely my number one underrated brand, but as an honorable mention, I would also say Catrice. I think Catrice has had that same issue. They're no longer in stores, and so people tend to forget about them. You can get them on Amazon, but they don't really get talked about that much anymore. And it's sad because I think their products are so good. And recently, the last year or two, they've come out with some really great stuff. So I love Catrice as well. I think they deserve a mention on this one. Okay, so question number 3 is, what is the most overrated drugstore or affordable brand? So back then I said Morphe, and I would have stood by that until more recently. I think Morphe, now that they're under new leadership in their company, they've really been impressing me lately and coming out with some really great stuff. So I no longer feel that way about Morphe. I think they have come such a long way from their history of, working with influencers and being a really influencer focused brand where it's just all about the coupon codes and the collabs and all of that. It just got tiring and old, and I never felt like their quality was good enough. And now I think everything that they've been coming out with so far has been really great this year. So I would no longer say Morphe for this one. I'm going to have to go with Physicians Formula on this one. And it's sad because there were so many great Physicians Formula products that I've loved in the past, but I do think that a lot of times they oversell what the product is supposed to do, and then you get it and it's just kind of like, it's fine, it's okay, but it's not like what they hype it up to be, or like this miracle product, I think at one time their products were worth it, like the butter bronzer. When that came out, it was just so much better than every other bronzer at the drugstore kind of thing. But now I don't feel that way about them anymore. When they come out with something, it's usually like, it's all right, but it's not wowing me or blowing me away or anything. So I think they're probably the brand I would say is the most overrated. Also Makeup Revolution though too. They've definitely fallen far for me. There's occasionally a product I like from them, but for the most part, I'm usually pretty disappointed when I try their stuff. So I'm going to go with that. Next, question number 4 is, what is your favorite drugstore product under $5? First of all, there's hardly any drugstore products that are under $5 anymore. It's really hard to find. But there are actually 2 that come to mind, and I really couldn't pick between these because I use both of them a lot. The first one is the Essence Blush Crush blushes. These are really great. Such a good formula, so smooth. I don't know how they do it for, I think they're $3 or something. Crazy, crazy cheap, but at the same time, just a beautiful, really smooth formula, very like blurring on your cheeks. So those are amazing. And also I'd have to say these e.l.f. Cream Glide lip liners. I'm wearing this one today, Truth or Bear. This is the one I wear the most, and it's just like the perfect pinky nude, and I just wear it as a lipstick and then put a lip balm on top. And these are such beautiful, creamy, smooth lip liners, and they're $2. So again, really great. The only negative I could say about these is that the shade range isn't the best. I wish they would come out with more like wearable colors, because they have a couple, but they lean very like brown like this. I wish they would have maybe some cooler toned options that aren't like a bright pink, but maybe just something a little more mauve-y. They kind of jump from like neutral browns and then all of a sudden like dark colors. So I would like if they would have some more mid-range options, but it is such a good formula, definitely worth mentioning. Oh, and I forgot to mention what my favorite one was 5 years ago. That was the Believe Beauty foundation, and I'm gonna cry right now because Believe Beauty is gone. I do still have my bottle of their foundation, but once it's gone, it's gone. And that was just the most beautiful formula, and only $5. I'm gonna miss that brand so much. Okay, so then number 5 is, what is a hidden gem from the drugstore that no one talks about? So in my previous video, I had said the L'Oreal Magic Perfecting Base Primer. That was the one that had the fluffy, moussey texture, and it made my skin look perfect. I do still have a couple of backups left, but it's been discontinued, and so I can't really talk about that anymore, but it was the perfect primer. I'm still looking for a replacement for that one. If I had to say now, I would probably say the Neutrogena Hydra Boost Lip Shines. These glosses are so good and no one talks about them. They're unscented. I know I talk about these all the time, so I'm sorry to be repetitive, but the thing I love about them the most is how smoothing they are. They just sort of fill in all of your lip lines like a primer, and they make your lips look really smooth, and that's something that I struggle with. I have a lot of lines in my lips, so when I wear those, I feel like it almost gives that filler effect, not in the sense that it makes your lips look bigger, but just that it makes them look smoother. So I think those are a fantastic hidden gem at the drugstore. Definitely worth checking out. And if you don't like a super thick gloss, you might not like them. So I just want to put that out there. They do have a thicker texture, but that's what just makes them so beautiful on your lips. And it makes them last longer too. They're not just going to wear off in 2 seconds. You actually feel the moisture from them for a long time, even after the color is gone. So love those. All right, number 6 is, what is your favorite drugstore foundation? So in my previous video, I know I had mentioned the Believe Beauty, but at the time I said that one that was slightly edging that out for me was the Kick-Ass foundation from Soap and Glory. So Soap and Glory, they were part of the same parent company as CYO, if you guys remember that brand. And CYO had a foundation called Life Proof, and it was like my holy grail. Perfect foundation. Unfortunately, CYO went out of business. Then Soap and Glory took that formula and made it the Kick-Ass foundation. But now that's gone because Soap and Glory basically discontinued most of their makeup and just is focusing now on skincare. So again, another beautiful foundation that is no longer with us. So if I had to pick one now, that is a tough call. I would say either Ulta's Complexion Crush, which is the one I'm wearing today, and I think that one is probably the closest that I've found to the CYO Life Proof. It's just really smoothing on your skin. I have very dry skin. I'm 47, like I have fine lines and stuff, and it just sits so beautifully, and it has that perfect medium coverage. So that one, or e.l.f. Soft Glam. I do love that formula too. I think it's beautiful. Those are probably the two that I wear the most. I've also really been enjoying the ColourPop foundation stick, the new one, the Pretty Fresh. So that's a contender too. But I guess if I had to just pick one, it would probably be the Ulta because I think I use that the most. Okay, moving on to question number 7. What products do you tend to buy more at the drugstore versus high end? So 5 years ago, I had said blushes, bronzers, lip products, and mascara. And I would have to agree with most of those still. I think when it comes to blush, there are so many great ones at the drugstore that if I never could buy another high-end blush again, I would be fine because I don't really notice a huge difference between the two. And I think the same goes for lip products, especially lip glosses. Lip glosses at the drugstore or high-end, it's like there's not really a whole lot of difference. Same thing with lip liners. Lipsticks, sometimes I can notice a little bit of a difference. Sometimes the high-end ones are a little smoother, but there are great ones at the drugstore too. So I think lip products in general are another thing you really don't have to spend a lot of money on. Mascara, I would disagree with now because I've been using mostly tubing formulas and they're still a little more rare at the drugstore. Once every drugstore brand has a tubing mascara and there are good ones, then I'll go back to drugstore mascara. But right now, it's hard to find those other than like the e.l.f. lash extender. So I've been using high-end mascaras more lately, but also I buy the mini sizes, so they're kind of like drugstore priced anyway. And then when it comes to bronzer, geez, I don't know. I feel like back then I had mentioned the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer and the Milani Silky Matte as being my favorites. I really haven't used either one of those in a while now. I do still think they're good formulas, but I feel like I kind of use an even mix of drugstore and high-end bronzers. So I wouldn't say at this moment I use more drugstore bronzers than I do high-end. It's kind of the same. If I had to pick some more categories that I use drugstore more than high-end, I would say eyeliners. I use the Moira eyeliners a lot. And just in general, I think there are some great ones at the drugstore. It's not something that you have to spend a ton of money on. Also, my brow brow pen from NYX that I use. I've pretty much been loyal to that for a couple of years now and haven't really gone out and tried any high-end brow products. And if I'm being honest, when it comes to the rest of the categories like primers and foundations and eyeshadow, I don't really buy more of one than the other. I kind of buy an even amount of both drugstore and high-end. I'm not super picky when it comes to that stuff. I just buy something that I think I might like. But when it comes to buying more of one over the other, it's definitely blushes, lip products, eyeliners, and brow products. All right, question number 8 is, what drugstore brand do you think is overpriced? Well, in the past, in that last video that I did, I said it was NYX. And that's funny because at the time, NYX was arguably one of the more expensive brands. I felt like their eyeshadow palettes, like they would come out with palettes that were $20. And back then at the drugstore, that was a lot. But they've seemed to have kind of reined in their prices a little, or maybe everybody's just sort of caught up. Now, when I think of overpriced makeup at the drugstore, I think of L'Oreal right away because they've had some foundations come out that are over $20. And just in general, they seem to be one of the more expensive brands. But I also have to mention CoverGirl here because I think they went from being one of the cheaper options at the drugstore to being way more expensive all of a sudden. And to be fair, they have gone cruelty-free. They have stepped up their quality a lot. I think just in general, their packaging, their presentation has improved. So with that, you would expect an increase in price, but it's just every time I try a new CoverGirl product, I have to look at it and be like, what? Why is this so much money? So I don't know, maybe for this answer, I'm gonna go with CoverGirl because like I said, L'Oreal has always been a little bit more expensive for the drugstore. That hasn't changed, but the whole CoverGirl thing kind of shocked me a little bit. All right, so next let's look at question number 9. That is, what is your favorite drugstore dupe? So in that last video, I had compared the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer to the Marc Jacobs bronzer. Remember those big, huge ones that he had? I think it was called Tantastic. Awesome bronzer. It smelled like coconuts. I loved that. So that was my favorite dupe at the time. Now, if I had to pick one, gosh, I don't know. There's just so many dupes out there right now, like way more than there were back then. But I would have to say probably the new ColourPop Fresh Kiss lip glosses. They are so close to the Summer Fridays, from the packaging to the scents they come in. They feel almost identical on the lips. I mean, it is like a true dupe. When I use those ColourPop ones, I feel like there's no difference. I don't feel like I'm missing out at all. And I think that's really the hallmark of a good dupe, is that you don't feel like you're compromising anything. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. And then question number 10 is, what is the best drugstore eyeshadow formula? So my answer actually hasn't changed here. It's ColourPop. And last time I actually had listed BH Cosmetics as a runner-up, and they're not around anymore as far as I know. I know Revolution had purchased them, or maybe they are still around, but I haven't heard about them in a while. And I'm pretty sure their quality went downhill. So either way, I'm gonna have to go with ColourPop here. I just love their palettes. They're the ones that I use the most often when it comes to drugstore eyeshadow. I'm wearing Going Coconuts today. Just love ColourPop's eyeshadows. So that was kind of an easy one. And they have so much variety, so many to pick from. It's like there's something for everybody. So number 11 is, what is the worst drugstore eyeshadow formula? In the last video, I said L'Oreal, and again, that hasn't changed. I don't think L'Oreal has come out with any new eyeshadows in forever, right? Like, I mean, they did have those single eyeshadows that were really good, the infallible ones, but when you're talking about palettes, they had those La Nude ones and they had the Paradise one. But like, have they come out with eyeshadows since then? I don't think so. I mean, that was years and years and years ago. I don't know what's going on with them. Maybelline, kind of the same thing. Their eyeshadows just not very strong at all. So I'm gonna have to go with L'Oreal / Maybelline on this one. They're the same company, so I feel like I can kind of do that. All right, number 12, drugstore brand you used to love but aren't crazy about anymore. So in the last version of this video, I had said NYX because at the time, I remember NYX having this crazy popularity, and then all of a sudden they weren't really doing anything new for a while. And I wouldn't say that's true anymore. I think they've really made quite a comeback and have just released some amazing stuff over the last couple of years. So if I had to say now, like a drugstore brand that I used to love that I'm not crazy about, I probably have two. One would be Wet n Wild, Wet n Wild used to be one of my favorites, and I've had a long history with them because I used them even when I was a teenager. So they've been around a long time, and they were just always like the cheapest affordable option at the drugstore, but also good at the same time. You know, they had great eyeshadows at one point in time. They had great blushes, and their highlighters were like so smooth and beautiful. They also had a really extensive lip range. They had good complexion products. Like, I just think that in recent years, Wet n Wild has really been just leaning into like these movie collabs and things that, I don't know, they're just not really releasing core products like they used to. It's all these limited edition stuff that they come out with it, then it disappears, you can't ever buy it again, and it's like, what's the point? I just wish they would start focusing more on their core line and maybe stop trying to play to nostalgia and people wanting to buy these collabs all the time. It just seems like a cash grab, like a quick way to make money, but not to keep anybody loyal to you. And I would say the other brand is Physicians Formula. Again, I know I mentioned them as being overrated. I don't know, I just don't love them as much as I used to. I always thought they had really great, solid products back in the day, but they just haven't impressed me as much, and they've gotten expensive too. So everything that I've tried, I'm just kind of like, it's okay. It's not anything super special. So I would say those two for that one. Question number 13 is a drugstore product you didn't expect to like, but totally wowed you. So back in my last video, I said it was the Maybelline Nudes of New York palette. That one definitely wowed me at the time. Looking back, like, I've tried that formula again and I'm not crazy about it now. I think eyeshadow has just gotten so much better. But at the time, that one was heads and tails above their previous formula. And so it absolutely surprised me when I tried it. I was really impressed. Now I would say it's probably the CoverGirl Yummy Blur lipsticks. These are matte lipsticks, and I always swear that I hate matte lipsticks. They never work for me because they always just feel so like dry and make my lips look crusty. These are so smoothing and blurring, and they like make the lip lines disappear, and they don't feel like they suck all the moisture out of your lips. I mean, they're not the most hydrating thing either. They don't feel like a balm, but they have enough cushion in them to just feel comfortable. And they give you that beautiful, smooth, matte look without the dryness and the wrinkles and everything that comes along with it. So I was really blown away by these, and I ended up going back and buying more colors because I think it's so good. And then question number 14 is favorite affordable eyeshadow palette right now. So back then, it was the BH Cosmetics Love in London palette, and I still would stand by that if they still sold it. That was and is truly a beautiful palette. I still own it. It still functions perfectly. The eyeshadows haven't dried out. It's just so gorgeous. But if I had to pick a favorite affordable palette that I use the most often right now, I'm between two of them, unfortunately. The ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette and Going Coconuts, which again is the one that I'm wearing today. And the reason that I'm between two is because this one is a little bit more like neutral to warm toned. This one is more of a cool tone palette. It has a few warm tones in it, but I mostly reach for this when I want a cooler, either grayish or like mauvey, taupey toned eyeshadow. Whereas if I want something warm and golden, I go with this one. So it really just depends on my mood. I probably wear this one more. I think it's just more versatile. So this would be my number one pick, but Going Coconuts is just so good that I had to mention it. And they have changed the packaging. Now it has the clear top like a lot of their other 9-pan palettes do. I don't know if they changed the formula. I haven't tried the new one, but the old formula is just outstanding, and I hope that they didn't touch it because it was perfection just as it was. So I'm standing by these right here. Definitely big favorites. So yeah, that was everything. That's all the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see other creators do this one, definitely tag them, let them know, and I would love to see that as well. So I just want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I truly appreciate it. If you have some time and you'd like to check out another video, I'll put one right there that you could see next. Thank you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care, guys. Bye.